think she's lucky.
I don't doubt that Damian is capable of doing that. But then it is not something that we can prove actually happened. What you actually need to help you investigate this matter is a real lawyer. Well, I mean a good lawyer. And I'm not that person.
He kind of said he's watching us and that he knows exactly where we live.
If that man goes near you again, leave right away. Is that clear?
My grandfather didn't want to sell that land, especially not to Damian Ferrer. He wanted to build a hospital. That was his dream.
All you have to do is let yourself go and be loved.
Hey, where are you going?
No! Don't touch me! Let me go! No!
Lying heart.
Ghetto Classic, we have outreach programs in Mombasa where we work with 4 schools. We started with teaching recorder and a program called Link Up, also known as Orchestra for Schools.
Guess what? She is expectant and she just posted on her Instagram page the baby bump. It's so big actually. I'm just like, how come no one had hinted?
Well, I'm supposed to work with South Soul.
Oh, wow.
As at then, I think they were trying to wrap up their album project. Then there was no time for them to actually give me attention.
He was saying that, making, doing life together with Simi is the best decision he ever made in life.
With the need to introduce his legacy to the younger generation, Bandana Issa comes from the younger inspired generation and is guided by the veterans that knew him.
Niko real, nimechill, sina speedy. Niko zone airborne, siko greedy. Motif, ebu nijenge, wajue the real meaning of madhenge.
Tayari saa hizi zenye ziko kwa market nzuri nimetoa ni ngoma kama 7, ni ngoma 7 sasa hivi. Ndio mafans wangu wategee mambo moto kali kama ngoma zangu hiyo Intie Doda ni ngoma nimekuja nazo na ni ngoma zitawachangamsha mbaya sana.
Nikonyo gimana ireso gimana donge kana lungi yo kana moko chudo da donge tinga mal
dos divididos por una sombra de traición.
She's starting to have problems with the people who work for the Ferrers. This only shows the kind of morals your brother has.
Why are you always defending him? He treats you like dirt, but you never do anything.
Lower your voice. Is there any reason for me to refuse him?
Me? Am I not enough reason?
What should I do?
I'm worried that Mariela won't stop until she gets what she wants because she thinks that she deserves justice, Father.
You did! Stupid brat. No one...
You don't have any right to insult me. I know that you're also going to deny that you stole the land that belongs to my grandfather. Can anyone tell me who that was?
Lying heart.
Good afternoon. This is Lunchtime News. Well, we have a comprehensive bulletin lined up this afternoon, and we trust that you're having a lovely day so far. My name is Jacky. Wambiru. Our sign language interpreter is Ann Wangeshi. And to kick us off, Three bodies decomposing have been discovered dumped at Iten area of Baringo County. The bodies had deep cuts indicative of torture, with authorities suspecting the victims might have been killed somewhere else and their bodies transferred.
Residents of Kapsigori, an area famously known as SS Road in Baringo County, are in shock following the discovery of two unidentified decomposing bodies. The bodies, which were naked, had deep cuts, an indication the victims might have been tortured.
Na wenye wameiangalia kabisa kwa karibu wameona kwamba hii mili sio watu ya hapa, hawajulikani. Hakuna mtu mwenye anaweza kutambua. Kwa hivyo tunafikiri kwamba hii watu ni kama ni watu wa mali ingine, ni kama wamewawa mahali na wakaletwa na kuwekwa kwa barabara.
Locals are expressing fear that Baringo might be experiencing a similar situation witnessed at Yala River, where bodies were discovered dumped recently.
Kama kuna roadblock Abirabita ama Nakuru ama Eldoret Tambach, hii mwili ilifikaje hapa Baringo? Kwa sababu kulingana na mimi kusema kweli, hii mwili si ya Baringo, hii ni ya mali nyingine. Hatutaki Baringo ikuwe River Yala kabisa, tunakataa.
Nancy Okware, Lunchtime News.
In other news, the enhanced voter registration exercise has entered its second week, with a section of leaders from Migori and Homa Bay counties raising concern on the low turnout being witnessed. The leaders are urging the youth to register and participate in electing their leaders.
Homa Bay County Deputy Governor Hamilton Orata, the leaders say the trend is worrying and more needs to be done before the deadline. Orata said majority of young people are reluctant to register, citing ignorance on the importance of the exercise.
Leaders are trying to do what they can, and the onus is not on leaders alone. Voting is your constitutional right, and it is the most precious right in the Constitution that you determine your destiny, who is going to be your next leader. And I think everybody must see it. You are not registering to help anybody. You are registering to exercise your constitutional right.
Migori Women Representative Pamela Othiambo and Awendo MP Walter Owino, on their part, called on the local administrators to expedite the issuance of the national identification cards to facilitate the voter registration exercise.
This is a very worrying scenario because I know quite a number of our young people have taken IDs. As I sit here today, I can tell you with confidence that the registrars in Nyatike sub-county, for example, are aware that there are some 23,000 young people who have already taken IDs, but they are not yet registered.
These aspirants or these leaders that you are seeing here have agreed that they are going to go out of their way to ensure that they even spend their resources to make sure that they get out. First, they identify people who have acquired identification cards and are yet to register as voters. And they are going to make sure that we get the number.
Elsewhere, Wilfred Kiara, who is seeking the Roiro constituency seat, is urging locals to come out and register as voters in order to be part of those who will decide on their leaders.
Please, for heaven's sake, nijiandikishe kwa wingi kupiga kura. Hata saa hii watu wa kuandikisha wako pale Kivito, wako pale kwa chief na wako pale Kilili. Huko kwetu tunapitia, tafadhali unaweza chukua dakika moja mbili uende ujiandikishe.
Reporting for Lunchtime News, I'm Amboi Otiende.
And now, still on the same, regarding the ongoing voter registration exercise, we cross over to Mvita constituency in Mombasa County and join our reporter Michael Mwandiga to give us more update on how the ground is looking as the second rollout of the second phase of the voter registration is ongoing. Now, Mwandiga, kindly bring us to speed.
Well, good afternoon to you, Jacky, Wambiru. We are coming to you live from Mombasa County, and just to give you a gist on what is going on based on this second phase of voter registration exercise, the continuous voter registration exercise, which was rolled out by IBC, and I'm hereby joined by one official, that's Madam Neema Karisa, just to put into perspective how things are in this second phase, which was rolled out just 4 days ago by IBC. Karibu sana. Na tueleze tu kwamba hali kwa sasa ikoje, na wamejitokeza watu kuandikishwa, na hali kuna namna gani kwa ground?
Asanteni. Kwa majina kama mlivyoelezewa, mimi ni Neema Karisa, mshirikisho wa uchaguzi eneo bunge la Mvita. Zoezi tulilianza tarehe 17 na mpaka sasa hivi tunaendelea vizuri. Mvita constituency peke yake mpaka jana tulikuwa tumeandikisha watu 2024 na tuko na target ya kuandikisha watu 15,000. Tumeweka mikakati ya kutosha. Tuko na vifaa, tuko na mitambo 15 katika ward, yani mitatu katika kila ward, ambazo niko na ward 5, kwa hiyo kila ward iko na mitambo mitatu. Niko na mtambo mmoja uko Huduma Center ambao unaandikisha nationally, na niko na institution kits zingine 3 ambazo pia zinaandikisha nationally. Hizi institution kits tumeziweka Technical University of Mombasa, tumeweka ingine the former MTTI, na kulikuwa kuna moja tumeweka NRB ambayo pia inaandikisha. Hapa kwa constituency office pia tuko na mtambo mmoja ambao unaandikisha watu ambao wanakuja kuangalia details zao, ama labda wanakuja kufanya transfers na tunawapata hawako kwenye sajili. Kwa hiyo kwa in total Mvita constituency iko na mitambo 20, sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
Na tueleze tu labda ni matatizo gani ambayo mnapitia kwa sasa katika kuandikisha watu, na pia vile vile elezea kuhusiana na hili swala kwamba watu wanalalamika kwamba ukitaka kutransfer kutoka mahali pengine kuelekea katika kituo kingine lazima uwe na barua ya chifu.
Naam. Katika zoezi la uandikishaji kura kuna na transfers na kuna uandikishaji wa wapigaji kura wapya. Tatizo ambalo tumeliona wakati huu ni kwamba wao tu wanaotaka kutransfer ndio wengi zaidi kuliko wale ambao wanataka kujiandikisha. Na kulingana na Elections Act revised 2016, kipengee kuhusu transfer of voters, inatakikaniwa mtu anayetaka kutransfer kura yake awe na uthibitisho ya kuishi pale mahali kwa muda usiopungua miezi 6. Hiyo ni kulingana na Elections Act. So tuna prove vipi kwa mtu ameishi pale kwa muda usiopungua miezi 6? Tunasema apate barua kutoka kwa chifu wake, ambao tumeelewana na machifu pia kwamba wanaanza na mzee wa mtaa, alafu anaenda kwa chifu, manake mzee wa mtaa ama mzee wa nyumba 10 ndio mwenye kuwajua hawa watu. Mbali na hapo, ikiwa kwa mfano wewe ni mkazi wa mahali na labda watoto wako wanasoma pale, uko na receipt ya kuonyesha kwa unalipia fee watoto pale, tunakubali. Ukiwa uko labda ni unalipa rent hapo, tunakubali. Ukiwa na utility bill pia kuonyesha kwa wewe ni mkazi hapo mahali, pia tunakubali. Lakini sheria tu inasema ya kwamba uonyeshe uthibitisho ya kuwa wewe ni mkazi wa hapo mahali. Hii nafikiria sana sana ni kulinda against voter importation, kuleta watu ambao wanakuja kujiandikisha mahali ambapo hawana maslahi.
Shukran sana. That's all he's putting, or she's putting into perspective regarding this second phase, which was rolled out by IBC. And a point to note, IBC is targeting 4.5 million voters who were left out in the first phase, and the second phase began on 17th and is expected to end on 6th of January. And remember that IBC is putting into place measures to ensure that we have verifiable, true and accountable general elections, that is on 9th of August. And something also to note is that IBC say that it is also rolling out the diaspora voter registration, and is going to be increased in other 7 nations, including UK, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and Southern Sudan, together with the United States and Germany. And remember that only the diaspora voters will only vote for presidential elective position. That's all we have. Jacky, Wambiru from Mombasa County, and back to you in Nairobi.
Well, thank you so much, Michael Mwandiga, for giving us an update on the second phase of the voter registration that was rolled out by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission on January 17th. Now, we proceed. Over 20 human rights organizations and community service organizations have launched an election preparedness campaign to sensitize Kenyans on the importance of peace before, During and after the general elections, the countrywide campaign dubbed Angaza Movement began in Western Kenya and is now in the coastal region. The Angaza Movement caravan, consisting of comedians, MCs and human rights activists, pitched camp in several parts of Malindi. Hundreds of curious onlookers jumped the Alaskan Junction, where they were treated to entertainment by the famous Zangalewa dancers. The residents were sensitized on the importance of maintaining peace during the electioneering period, as well as registering as voters.
Tunahamasisha watu wetu kuhusiana na pia kila mtu achukue jukumu lake la kuhakikisha kwamba wamekata kura, wamehamasisha wengine kukata kura na kuendelea kudumisha amani katika Kilifi County. Pia vile vile tunawahamasisha, mbali na kwamba tutakuwa tayari tumepiga kura, pia tufuatilize wale tuliowachagua, tuhakikishe kwamba wamewajibika, ni viongozi ambao wako na maadili.
Jukumu kuu la Angaza ni kuhakikisha kuna uwazi na wajibikaji katika kupiga kura na kujaribu kubadilisha uongozi wa nchi hii.
Na pia tutakuwa tunaangalia kwa makini na kina zile injustices ambazo zitakuwa zinatokea kwa kipindi hichi cha uchaguzi, kipindi hichi, the pre and post, and also during the election.
The countrywide civic education campaign kicked off in Western Kenya, with the caravan set to be at Tononoka grounds in Mombasa on Tuesday. In a related development, Kisii County gubernatorial aspirant Chris Obure has decried hooliganism by competitors at public meetings, saying it denies the electorate the chance to listen to various aspirants and make informed choices.
Watu wengine wameanza kuleta tabia mbaya ya kutuma watu ili kuharibu mikutano ya wagombeaji wengine, na hiyo tunataka kukataa jambo hilo. Nia kama hizo hatutaki katika wilaya hii.
Meanwhile, a cleric in Isiolo has called on Kenyans to reject politicians who propagate hate speech and incitement to violence. Kambia Jew Methodist Church presiding pastor Reverend Susan Mukiri said that peaceful coexistence was an important component that should be embraced by all.
Akija mwanasiasa atasema kulingana na rangi ya mtu, katana naye na umkatae. Kwa sababu tusipokuwa na amani, hata tukiwapitisha wote, tutaweza wapitisha na tusifaidike sisi.
Nancy Okware, Lunchtime News.
Still in the political arena, a section of leaders from the Western region have dismissed the political alliance between ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi and Deputy President William Ruto's UDA. Led by Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya, the leaders claimed the ANC leader had betrayed the Luhya nation. They said they will rally behind the Azimio la Umoja movement to form the next government.
Hours after ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi declared partnership with Deputy President William Ruto's UDA party ahead of the August elections, a section of leaders from Western region have accused him of betrayal.
Ni harakati za wanasiasa walio katika mrengo ya ANC kuuza wananchi wa Western kwa peni.
Speaking in Lukuyani during a meeting with leaders from Kakamega and Trans Nzoia counties, Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya dismissed the alliance between Mudavadi and Ruto, terming it a failed project.
Na haya mambo tulikuwa tunajua itafanyika, na walikuwa wameenda kitambo. Sasa wametuachia nafasi na sisi tuko kwa Azimio na moja.
Meanwhile, a section of Kenyans from Kisii region residing in Kajiado County have declared their support for Raila Odinga.
We, the Abagusi community, have resolved to work with the Maasai community in one accord. Realizing that the community is firmly in Azimio movement, we have resolved to support and work with His Excellency Honorable Joseph Bororelengu who is currently the appointed leader of Azimio movement within the Ma community.
In a meeting held at Kitengela Stadium, Kajiado Governor Joseph Olelenku, who lauded the move, said there was need for political tolerance among leaders.
Lakini muhimu sana ni uamuzi kwamba tutakaa kama ndugu na dada, tutaweka amani pamoja na malengo na mahitaji yetu. Hatutazidisha mapenzi ya wana Kajiado kwamba ile mwelekeo watachukua ni mrengo wa amani.
And now on matters education, the government has been asked to consider setting up low-cost boarding schools in marginalized regions of the country. Kapenguria Member of Parliament Samuel Moroto says these will ensure children from poor backgrounds are catered for and have access to quality education. Speaking during the opening of newly constructed classrooms at Tomena Secondary School by the Kapenguria CDF and the launch of the school strategic plan, Area Member of Parliament Samuel Moroto said the setting of low-cost boarding schools will boost retention of school children whose parents migrate from one place to another in search of pasture and water.
Unajua mtoto huyu akitoka hapa akienda nyumbani mahali anapata facility mzuri peke yake ni hapa darasani hapa hivi. Kuenda nyumbani kuna wengine hata chakula hawezi pata, hata mafuta taa kuonyesha kwamba kuna nini hapa hivi, inakuwa shida. Sasa tumesema kwamba tutaanza kuweka a kind of a semi-temporary boarding, semi-boarding, ili wale wako kama form 4 nini tunawasaidia kama wanaweza kufumulia kustahimili ile shida imekuwa yote.
Moroto called on the government to come up with an affirmative action to promote education in all arid and remote pastoral communities in the country. He challenged the national government to commit to infrastructure development in schools within West Pokot.
Especially angalia mashule kama hizi za slums. The areas ile ambao unajua ukiweka unajua kwamba umesaidia ile mtu wa chini. Na hiyo ndio ombi langu.
Meanwhile, at least 300 students from Kiambaa have benefited from an initiative by area residents aimed at catering for the unpaid school fees for the third term. The well-wishers, led by Damaris Oiganjo, say bursaries allocated to the area is barely enough to cater for all children in need, hence the need for such initiatives to cushion more students.
Over 70% of these children had not gone back to school this January. 40% did not go to school in the past 2 terms. So that was the term for last December and the one before that for August. So what we have done is collect the very needy students, put them back to school so that they can be able to access education.
Beneficiaries lauded the initiative, however, calling on head teachers to follow the directive from the Ministry of Education not to send children home due to lack of school fees, citing financial constraints due to the impact of COVID-19 on the economy.
Tumesaidia tumelipiwa school fees sasa tunaenda shule.
Nimesaidika na hii basari imeniwezesha kwenda shule na in future itaniwezesha nisome kwa bidii.
Badilishiwa terms za shule. Kama saizi ni Januari ni third term na hapo awali ni kuaga ni first term. Na sasa kwetu sisi wazazi inatupea majukumu sana sababu watoto wanarudi shule after a week na kila saa watoto wanarudi shule inakuwa ni tunatoa pesa kila saa. Sasa tunafinyika na maneno ya kutoa pesa ya shule na rent watoto wengi wetu wanashindwa ama wanakosa kukua shuleni.
Pesa haitoshi kwa hata tafuta basale kwa mheshimiwa hatupati basale, sisi wote tunapewa, wengine na wengine wanapewa, lakini wale wengine hawapewi basale, lakini tumefurahi siku ya leo kwa sababu tumepewa.
From Education Matters, Samburu Governor Moses Lenol Kulal is urging communities residing in the county to embrace peaceful coexistence at all times. Speaking at a peace meeting, Lenol Kulal said insecurity is carrying away investors, hence denying local youth employment opportunities.
The participants, consisting of people from Pokot and Samburu communities, were asked to cease animosity and coexist for the sake of development in the area.
Ni kuomba tu jamii zote mbili siweze kuishi kwa amani,
kwa sababu tumekuwa na mizozo, tumekuwa na wizi ya mifugo, lakini zaidi imefika mahali ile tunaita cold blood killing. Mtu anapigwa tu risasi. Imefika mahali ya kulipishana kisasi. Na kama jamii, kama wafugaji, hatutaenda mbele tukiendelea na mzozo kama huo.
Area governor saying many lives have been lost due to insecurity in the area and it was time the guns are brought to silent.
Tumesema kwanza tena tusimamishe ile tunaita ceasefire. Wale vijana wako msituni warudi manyumbani. Tukomeshe kwanza vita, tukiendelea kutengeneza mipango ya amani.
Local elders pledging that they will be ambassadors of peace. Jacqueline Masharia for Lunchtime News.
Burkina Faso's government has denied claims of an attempted coup after exchanges of heavy gunfire took place at multiple army barracks in the capital yesterday. The shootout came a day after when clashes between police and demonstrators transpired during the banned protests against the authorities for failure to stem the jihadist violence ravaging in the West African country.
Burkina Faso's Sunday morning gunfire follows the country's most recent protest against the uncontrollable jihadist bloodshed. According to an AFP tally, groups linked to the Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group have continued to cause trouble in the landlocked Sahel region since 2015, killing about 2,000 people. The government, however, said that the crisis has been contained and dismissed rumors of a new coup attempt just over a week after 11 soldiers were detained for allegedly plotting a coup. Meanwhile, at least 16 people have been killed in a nightclub fire in Cameroon's capital, Yaoundé. The blaze was caused by fireworks that were lit while champagne was being served in the club. According to the government report, 8 more people were seriously injured in the fire that occurred in the early hours of Sunday. The emergency services are still searching the venue as the number of those dead is feared to rise. Elsewhere, female university students in Morocco have broken their silence about professors demanding sexual favors in return for good grades. Activists have taken to the social media in the conservative North African nation where victims of sexual violence often keep quiet. The higher education system is under close scrutiny following the ongoing protests condemning sexual violence in the country. And finally, in Belgium, a rally saw violent exchanges in Brussels as tens of thousands marched the streets to protest against the COVID-19 restrictions. Stones were thrown by demonstrators calling for the lifting of measures put in place against the Omicron variant. Brian Mwindi, Lunchtime News.
And now in other news, we cross over to the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development here in Nairobi County, where Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i, accompanied by Inspector General of Police Hilary Mutyambai, the Principal Secretary of Interior Karanja Kibisho, as well as senior security chiefs, are holding a closed-door meeting to discuss matters regarding security preparedness ahead of the 2023 general election. Now, our reporter Zainab Said is on the ground and has more details. Zainab.
Yes, Wambiru, we are coming live from the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, where Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i is having a meeting with other security officers, a meeting that is meant to discuss the security status in the country and also ahead of the general election. Remember, among those who are attending is the Cabinet Secretary Interior Fred Matiang'i, IG Hilary Mutyambai, DPP Nuruddin Haj, and also PS Karanja Kibichu. Currently, they are in a closed-door meeting. They've been there for close to an hour now, where they're discussing, as I said, other deliberations on security status in the country. Also, we are waiting for them to brief us on what they will have discussed by then. The meeting is also with other county bosses from across the country. Remember, the country in recent months and days has experienced other hate speech and also utterances that are not so good to the country now that campaign periods are here. So that's why we are here. We'll be waiting for an hour now, and we hope before the day clauses, we'll have known what they were discussing about, and we'll be sure to brief our viewers in our subsequent bulletins. Back to you, Jacky.
Well, that was our reporter Zainab Said coming live from the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, where Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i is holding a closed-door meeting to discuss the security preparedness in the country ahead of the 2022 general election. For now, we take a short break. Don't go too far. We'll be back with more news.
Tusirudi nyuma kwa mipaka na nchi kufungwa. Tusirudi kwa biashara na shule kufungwa. Kwa kutoweza kukutana. Kwa kutengana na tuwapendao. Tusirudi nyuma.
Na kuhitaji unikinge, pata chanjo.
Ili tuendelee na maisha vizuri.
Na kuhitaji unikinge, pata chanjo.
Na kuhitaji unikinge,
pata chanjo.
Na kuhitaji unikinge,
pata chanjo.
Na kuhitaji unikinge, pata chanjo.
Ili tuendeleze maisha bora kwa ajili ya wapendao, nchi yetu na usoni wetu. Kwa ajili yetu sisi sote. Pata chanjo. Kaa chonjo. Kuhakikisha nchi yetu na uchumi wetu umestawi katika uwazi. Tusirudi nyuma.
Divididos por una sombra de traición.
She's starting to have problems with the people who work for the Ferrers. This only shows the kind of morals your brother has. Why are you always defending him? He treats you like dirt, but you never do anything.
Lower your voice. Is there any reason for me to refuse him?
Me? Am I not enough reason?
What should I do?
I'm worried that Mariela won't stop until she gets what she wants because she thinks that she deserves justice, Father.
You did!
Stupid brat, no one...
You don't have any right to insult me. I know that you're also going to deny that you stole the land that belongs to my grandfather. Can anyone tell me who that was?
Lying heart.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
有一段故事建筑一座城堡
Leave the rest to me. I'm going to figure out where we are going to go from here.
You just need to buckle down and work harder and you can achieve success.
She hasn't said anything, but I wouldn't say we're that close.
If your entire life revolves around fighting and screwing people over, what is there to be happy about?
You know, what do I have to be happy about?
I have 2 months. I still have a lot I'd like to do.
有一段故事建筑一座城堡 会放进去后就不再打
Welcome back. Now let's proceed. About 70 youth from Mombasa County and its environs have benefited from a 3-year technical course training courtesy of 2 private institutions based in Mombasa. The new cohort will be undertaking technical courses in electrical, plumbing, masonry, carpentry and joinery, welding, among others, both in theory and practical lessons. The initiative is part of corporate social responsibility by the 2 companies geared towards addressing youth unemployment in the region.
Youth unemployment and underemployment has been a major issue in Kenya for years, where about 1 in every 3 people under 35 is unable to find a job, despite actively seeking one.
Right now, there are no jobs currently in the government. So if you want to depend on the government, I doubt if you can get a job there. The only work that you can get outside here right now is hunt for the skills. What you learn how to do, how you are going to implement it out there.
Policymakers and stakeholders are urging the youth to invest in technical and vocational education and training institutions, saying skill acquisition will result in access to gainful employment. 2 foreigners investors and the fanfare joint proprietor Reto Casanova are the brains behind an institute offering technical and vocational education training tailored apprenticeship training system.
You have the choice to go either in a university or to go in an apprenticeship. And the vast majority of youngsters, they choose to go in an apprenticeship because you get immediately a salary. You are employed like an employee in a factory. You work alongside workers.
The institution was born out of a lack of qualified craftsmen in Mombasa to hire for the repair work in maintenance-intensive business ventures like his fanfare joint.
In year 2, and I'm doing welding engineering. The course is very good for the ladies and also for gents. Because first,
clearly,
you gain a lot of things.
Family,
outside there,
with vocabulary.
When you're working and you're doing your own job, it's very good.
Kenya is among 8 pilot countries of the program, which is aimed at providing employment-oriented skills development to young people in Africa.
And now we focus on other matters, where we cross over to Karen, where Deputy President William Ruto is meeting the UDA parliamentary group at his official residence in Karen. Let's listen in.
Members, its candidates, will not participate in violence of whatever nature. We expect the same from every party and every candidate, because Kenya deserves and should have a peaceful election. We expect the people of Kenya, out of free will, without blackmail, intimidation, or threats, to make their choices free of violence. That is our very firm position as a party. I'm going to ask members of the PG to read the statement on behalf of our parliamentary group, starting with Alice Wahome.
Well, those live pictures are from Karen at the official residence of the Deputy President, where he has addressed members of the state, calling for peace, calling on Kenyans to ensure that they are champions of peace ahead of this year's general election. We shall be bringing you more details in our subsequent bulletins. From now, we take a look at business news making headlines this day, and to kick us off, as drought continues to ravage many parts of the country, farmers are being advised to adopt drought-tolerant crops to curb food insecurity. In Kisii County, farmers have overcome the January dry spell as they continue to adopt drought-tolerant crop farming. The county government says that dry season require immediate mitigation measures to overcome food scarcity.
A UN report indicates 3 consecutive poor rainy seasons in Kenya have exposed at least 2.9 million people to food insecurity. However, in Kisii County, farmers have resorted to drought-tolerant food crops such as cassava and millet to overcome hunger. The county, through the agricultural officers, have been instrumental in encouraging the food production of cassava, potatoes and other root tubers that are drought-tolerant, with hope of bridging the gap of food insecurity experienced in certain homes and counties.
We are encouraging the production of cassava, potatoes, the root tubers that are drought tolerant. And so with the production of our African indigenous foods, there is great hope of bridging the gap of food insecurity that is being experienced in certain homes and even in certain counties.
Irene Omweri, a farmer, said that instead of planting maize for 6 months, she grows yellow maize and millet, which takes 3 months to mature and is utilized at home, and also sells the remaining to generate income. Farmers urge residents to embrace drought-resistant food crop farming to supplement their income needs.
Hii chakula inatusaidia badala ya kupanda mahindi kwa 6 months, tunapanda hiyo wimbi for 3 months umepata. Na ni mzuri, inatusaidia, unaweza pika ugali, unaweza pika uji, na ikikuwa mingi tunapeleka sokoni tunauza. Unapanda kwa mali kidogo sana, hitaji mali pakubwa. Ukipanda unafuna, unaweza toa hata gorogoro 10 hivi. Ukipanda tu mali kidogo, hitaji hata shamba kubwa.
Uzuri wa nduma, hata wakati wa kiangazi kama saa hii, haisikii kiangazi. Kwa kuuza nduma moja inauzwa 100. Na ukibeba gunia hiyo ni 1500 tayari. Si hapo itakusaidia hata kulipa school fees ama ununue chakula ingine.
The farmers have also called upon the county government to send more extension officers to the field to train them on proper farming of crops that endure dry spell and mature quickly. Reporting for Lunchtime News, I am Teresa Mutai.
GoTV customers will now enjoy their viewing at a reduced cost following review of prices of GoTV Lite platform. Speaking on the price reduction in Nyeri, MultiChoice Kenya Managing Director Nancy Matema said the company's main priority was to make entertainment more affordable and accessible. The change in price of the GoTV Lite package takes effect from 21st January 2022 and be applied across the monthly, quarterly and annual billing cycles.
Na kuanzia leo tumepunguza hiyo bei kuanzia ama kutoka shilingi 265 hadi shilingi 199. Kwa hivyo utapata ile burudani lako bora zaidi katika kisanduku chako cha GoTV kwa ile bei ambayo ni bei imurwa kabisa ya shilingi 199. Na tusisahau pia tuko na ofa ya kile kisanduku ama dekoda ya GoTV ambapo unaweza kujipatia dekoda yako ya GoTV kwa shilingi 1299.
Kenya has extended the ban on export of 2 avocado varieties indefinitely in a bid to contain shipment of immature fruits. The Agriculture and Food Authority says the current crop in farms is immature and that any trader keen to export avocados should seek clearance from the regulator.
The harvesting of Hassan Fuerte avocado varieties for export remains suspended indefinitely. This is after the Agriculture and Food Authority conducted a survey on the current crop on different farms across the country and concluded that the crop is still immature and not fit for export. The authority had placed an export ban on the 2 varieties in November last year and was to be reviewed this month. After a stakeholder review meeting, the Agriculture and Food Authority has decided to extend the avocado export ban indefinitely until the current crop in farms meet export standards. Kenya had placed an avocado ban to protect its image in the overseas market. According to players in the sector, Kenya had created a niche for itself in the international market, and immature avocado export that was finding its way into the international market reduced the price and ultimately the value of Kenyan avocados. The export ban is also expected to reduce interference with the cropping cycle of the crop and will help estimating projected volumes during harvests. However, the export of jumbo variety will continue by air, but limited to a maximum size of 184 grams per fruit. In a raft of measures expected to be enforced once export resumes, exporters with unregistered marketing agents risk losing their export licenses. Traders and farmers will also be required to adhere to the crops regulations of 2020 that ban the transportation of avocado crops on open pickups, probox and canters. Avocado will only be transported on washable crates to retain the crop's quality and enhance food safety standards.
Prices for maize and meat in South Africa may spike due to the rain damage to grain crops. Some farmers have suffered huge losses, with at least 22% saying that more than 60% of the white maize area has been negatively affected by the heavy rains. Major grain farming regions such as the Northern Cape and Free State have been most affected. Details of these and others from our Africa Business Roundup.
The report draws from a survey conducted by Grain South Africa, assessing the extent of the damage to maize and other grains caused by excessive rain this summer. The survey polled 434 farmers across the country, some of whom have already suffered large-scale losses. If a normal season prevails, farmers expect to harvest 32% white maize in below-average conditions and 31% in an average state. They expect that 20% will be in a very poor condition. The report shows the Northern Cape, Western and Eastern Free State were the most affected grain-growing regions. Yellow maize has also been affected, with 14% of the farmers saying that they expect more than 60% of the yellow maize area will be affected. Last year, South Africa's total maize production was projected to reach 16.2 million tons from a previous 15.3 million tons in 2020. Meanwhile, Ethiopia has delayed without explanation the release of monthly data for inflation, which topped 30% in recent months and hit a 13-year peak in September as conflict impacted food prices. Inflation is usually posted by the Central Statistics Agency in the first week of the subsequent, but in an unusual delay, December data was still not up by 20th January. In November, inflation was 33% year-on-year, down from 34.2% in October and 34.8% in September, which World Bank data showed to be the highest since 2008. A more than year-long war in Ethiopia's northern Tigray region, intercommunal violence and drought have damaged the economy and pressured food costs. Last month, Ethiopia proposed a 122 billion supplementary budget to finance and rebuild areas destroyed by war and provide humanitarian assistance. Finally, Egypt's apparel exports increased by 41% in 2021, which amounted to $2.49 billion compared to 2020's $1.4 billion. The Apparel Export Council noted the exports are the highest for Egypt's garment export sector, and it is a historical increase that has not been achieved before. 23 new factories joined the council in 2021, and the council succeeded in re-attracting 11 small and medium-sized factories belonging to the ready-made garment sector, under a clear policy of the council aiming to facilitate conditions.
In other news, a major UK investment fund has said it will vote to try to get directors kicked out of firms that fail to make good on environmental pledges. Aviva investors also want bosses' pay to be linked to sustainability goals. Here are the details and more news making headlines today.
Aviva is the latest big investment firm to ramp up the pressure on corporations in a bid to make them clean up their act. BlackRock, the world's largest fund, has told the firms it invests in to step up on sustainability or face the consequences. Aviva Investors, which has 262 billion euros of assets under management, set out its expectations in a letter that will be sent to 1,500 firms in 30 countries this week. On human rights, Aviva expects companies it backs to scrutinize the impact they have when doing business and to take action to stop harm. Last week, 280 firms changed their practices after pressure from Aviva investors. Meanwhile, Cathay Pacific annual loss for last year narrowed to as little as HK $5.6 billion, even as Hong Kong remained under tight coronavirus travel restrictions. The improvement was driven by strong cargo demand and cost-cutting measures. Cathay forecasted to lose between $1 billion to $1.5 billion a month due to stricter aircrew quarantine regulations, which will force it to further reduce cargo and passenger capacity. The airline said for this month it is operating about 2% of its pre-pandemic passenger capacity and around 20% of its pre-pandemic cargo capacity. Finally, the U.S. stocks fell sharply with the Nasdaq shading 2.7% as sell-off deepened on the Wall Street. The Dow Jones Industrial Average decreased 450.52 points or 1.3% to 34,265.37. The S&P 500 fell 84.79 points or 1.89% to 4,397.94. The Nasdaq Composite Index sank 385.10 points or 2.7% to 13,768.92, falling deeper into correction territory, leading the laggards.
And on news making headlines in the sports world, the battle for top honours on the Africa Cup of Nations continues to intensify as host Cameroon seek to continue their form of brilliance when they play against Comoros tonight. Meanwhile, Tunisia upset 10-man Nigerians to set up a quarter-final tie against Burkina Faso, who won on penalties after extra time against Gabon following a 1-1 draw at the Africa Cup of Nations last evening.